So you know what time it is. What's up everybody, welcome back to some more Cyberpunk 2077 news and gameplay. Today is a big day. We are about a little bit over a week at this point from the release of the game. Well, with the exception of the people who already got their hands on early collector's editions versions of the game, because it seems that a number of retailers like Best Buy and even Amazon for some reason are shipping it days in advance, like a whole week in advance to a number of people. It has been confirmed by quite a few out there, but even more so, we have some brand new leaks to talk about. Of course, yes, new gameplay has been leaked, looks much better. I will not post anything in this video, no story spoilers and whatnot, because yeah, obviously it would take the video down, but I also don't want to spoil anything for you guys as I made this promise before. So let's talk about that and more in this video, and as always, if you enjoy it at any point, don't forget to leave a thumbs up on it. Now, let's begin with the release date, because I'm seeing a ton of videos out there claiming that you can play Cyberpunk early. Yeah, well, unless you're one of the lucky few that just got their shipment delivered, you're probably gonna play it at the exact same time as everybody else, because guess what, this is a global release, so it is going to go out simultaneously in every region of the world. But because of like the times and the clock differences, you're either going to play it in the middle of the day, maybe in the morning, in the middle of the night. What's for sure is that these are the exact hours that you can expect right here. If you're not in one of these regions, you can simply convert it on Google. It's super easy and super fast, but again, everybody is getting it at the same time because this is a global launch. But we were talking about early shipments, let's talk a bit about that. I've searched around, I did some digging, and it seems that it's true. A number of people are getting their collector's editions shipped early. This doesn't seem to affect the normal edition, like the regular one, neither of course the digital ones by far, but it does seem that the collector's one is getting shipped quite fast, especially in terms of Best Buy. There's a number of people over on Twitter that were able to confirm this. There's also people on Twitter that were able to confirm that their shipment is going to expect delivery as early as today. So that is really crazy, 8 days early to be able to play Cyberpunk 2077. So expect even more leaks than the ones that we had up until today. Now, speaking of leaks, we do have a brand new leak that I haven't even seen being posted around too much. Like, it only had about 300 viewers on the stream, but I do have the download at hand. I cannot provide it to anyone, not unless I really want a DMCA. I don't want that. I also can't feature it in this video and even talk about it too much, but if you dig around Twitter, you're going to probably find it if you just search for that, so you're going to eventually find it. Now, as far as like a general thing, a general impression about the 24 minutes or so of gameplay that I'm seeing right here, it does seem that it works really well on the PlayStation 4. That's all I'm going to say. Of course, it also shows some of the menus, the UI, items. It seems that it's a really early on gameplay, and otherwise there's not many story spoilers that I'm seeing in it. Well, there is one part in the beginning, but it doesn't spoil too much, especially if you're not a French speaker. You're probably not going to understand anything anyway. But otherwise, let's talk about some other details, because we had a recent interview with Tom Marks from IGN and Phil from GameSpot, and they managed to give a ton of input over the game. Like, there's a ton of details over here that I really want to go over. Of course, I'm going to link that 1-hour interview down below if you want to go ahead and check out all of the questions and answers over there, but I will focus on a handful of ones since I found these to be most relevant and kind of gives you a little bit more information over the game. And the first one that I'm going to start with is in regards to a very cool playstyle that I'm pretty sure a ton of former Skyrim players will be familiar with. So if you ever played Stealth Archer in Skyrim, you're probably going to be able to play something very similar in Cyberpunk 2077. Of course, a lot more fun and a lot more advanced, something like a stealth sniper. So Phil was explaining over here some really cool stealth gameplay. Of course, they also gave some input on some of the guns that they were able to get really early on. A sniper rifle that can shoot through walls, and a weapon that can bend bullets around obstacles. obstacles. What they were likely referring to was probably something similar to the Tsunami Tech sniper rifle that can indeed pierce concrete walls, and likely one of the smart weapons like the TKI SMG that has the ability to use tracking bullets onto the target and kind of bend them around corners and whatnot. So this opens up some very efficient kind of playstyles that former, of course, Skyrim players should be familiar with. As I've said, this would be in this case the stealth archer or the stealth sniper, except in this one you're even better at killing it. So Phil from GameSpot described how he was able to ping one of the targets in a room filled with enemies, which in turn let him reveal all of the enemies in the room and kind of have these sort of outlines, kind of like a wall hack, so to speak. He then explained how he went into a different room, hid over there, and simply sniped everybody through the walls and taking the targets down one by one by simply piercing with the sniper rifle, which sounds really incredible. It sounds really fun, honestly. I think that this is going to be in one of my first playthroughs. Like, I always loved the stealth archer in Skyrim, so I'm probably going to start with this one too. They also mentioned how the enemy AI didn't immediately know where the player's exact location is, but rather they started searching. So the fact that you can break enemies' line of sight and eventually even make them lose track of you means that you can regroup and try a different angle when overwhelmed or when the previous one didn't work as effectively. They also mentioned that a stealth character is going to be extremely efficient early on. It seems that this might be a good route to pick, especially since early on enemies seem to be extremely powerful compared to you, since you kind of lack gear. They also further explain how this could tie in with more pacifist kind of playthroughs, though they did admit that a true fully pacifist playthrough might be extremely difficult to pull off, if not even impossible, since the design of some of the encounters kinda prohibit that. But with that being said, for about 90% of the other encounters, it's completely possible to instead pick up a non-lethal path that I know you guys want and just take them down in a non-lethal kind of way, with the option over there that lets you do that. So yeah, just going behind them and just knocking them out instead of snapping their necks or something. This also raises a really interesting question. What happens if you die? Do you wake up in a hospital or do you just reload your save file? Well, it's the second one. So basically, if you die, you have to reload your previous save file. So this is why Tom from IGN recommended to quick save as often as possible, especially in longer encounters and missions. Let's also talk about romance options, by the way. A lot of opportunities for romance that you can easily miss if you just don't pay attention to things. So to romance a character, you likely are going to need to go through quite a lot of dialogues and side missions with those characters to fully on romance them, which probably in the first even 20 hours might not be accessible to you. But with that being said, it doesn't mean that you can't sleep with other characters. So in many situations, depending on your choices in these possible missions, you could even miss out completely on these outcomes that let you sleep with these characters without even knowing. So Tom from IGN was explaining how in one of the side missions that he was doing for a certain character, this accidentally led to him discovering a dialogue option that let him meet with that person in a hotel room. And thinking that he would just be like going into the next part of the mission, he went there not expecting that in fact he ended up sleeping with said character. Like, imagine that, surprise sex. Yeah, that's going to happen quite a bit in Cyberpunk. Funny enough though, he even mentioned he got a dildo weapon as a reward from picking said dialogue option and ending up sleeping with that character. So if that's not a win-win situation, I don't know what is. Like, sleeping with someone and getting an item after that, that's like the biggest win in my book. Which also raises the question, how many of these possible outcomes will we miss when we get to play the game? This is why I am pretty glad that he was able to confirm that save scumming is a thing in Cyberpunk, and this is likely something that you will use quite often, especially before important decisions, to see what each outcome looks like. On a final note, Phil from GameSpot was able to run us through how moving through a very big crowd of people in a busy area looks like in Cyberpunk 2077. And if you were wondering if those big streets with a ton of people are still a thing in the game, like how it was in 2017 and 18 trailers, yes, that is still of course possible in the game, especially in the more populated kind of areas. Not all areas will be the same, as I've said in previous videos, but Phil was explaining how running down the streets filled with NPCs feel like, because according to him, he had to physically elbow people out of the way so he can make his way through the crowds, and it seems that that's no easy task either. Like, it is going to require quite a bit of effort to pass through these crowds, which honestly sounds really amazing. It does seem that this game and this city is way beyond the scope of most of the games that we have seen out there. But yeah, this is it with the news for today. Now the question of the day is, what were you doing when you first saw the Cyberpunk 2077 announcement, like the first one almost 8 years ago, a little bit over 8 years ago as a matter of fact. Like, I remember what I was doing. I was pretty much in university, I was studying, and then I saw it and I was thinking that I would be able to play the game in like no more than 2 or 3 years, and here we are 8 years later. So leave your comment down below. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video at any point, it would be super awesome if you also left a like on it and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.